Okay, so you were the creative director of J Brand. J Brand is known for putting the skinny jean on the map. I used to wear them all the time. Who founded that company and how did you meet them?
So Jeff Rudis was the founder, and I met him through an interview via a headhunter. They were looking for a new creative lead to start their contemporary collection. So ready to wear, basically. So add on to the level of denim. And I was called and I went to meet him in Los Angeles. I did a project for him as part of the interview process and really got on well with him. He liked the vision I had created, and we sort of went backwards and forwards a little bit on sort of what the ideas were for the contemporary collection and the sort of sportswear aspect of it. But he was an entrepreneur, and he was a great leader in the fact that he allowed people to just do what he hired them to do, which is actually quite rare. And I met him, got on really well with him, and then, moved to LA and started the collection. After about 2 months, he asked me to step in and become creative director.
Had he started other companies before?
I think J Brand was probably his first full collection, like label. He is now running L'Agence. So he definitely has had his fingers in the pie as far as fashion goes from J Brand on. I know he did a menswear collection straight after J Brand, after he sold J Brand. Yeah, but just an amazing leader, just really allowed you to take what your abilities were and run with them.
What was your vision for the brand once you got there?
So I think, coming from the denim world of past, I was a very we call them denim heads, people who just look at vintage and sort of get really inspired and excited about sort of vintage denim and the authenticity of denim. And J Brand obviously still work with vintage denim as inspiration, but what I loved what they had done is they had sort of taken the jean and stripped things away. So it was in the days of like heavy contrast stitch and a lots of sort of abrasion and sort of quite masculine approach to jeans. What J Brand had done with the skinny jean is sort of clean it up and sort of minimalize it. So it was part of my aesthetic. And so what I did was I took that approach to the cleanup of denim and made sure that the clothing was sort of minimal and stripped down and sort of very purposeful for the wear back to the jean. So what we would do in a season is we would put the big leading jeans, wash developments on the table, and we would sort of build the collection around those denim styles. So obviously the skinny jean was a big part of that process. Everything had to be worn back to the skinny jean. We did introduce other fits as the sort of trends changed a little bit. The skinny jean was always at the top, and even to this day probably still is. But we put in the boyfriend jean was another big ad that we did quite well with. But it was always based around the jean.
You had said that between you and Jeff and coming up with the vision that you had for the brand, that you wanted to make sure the industry knew this was not just another LA denim brand.
Yeah.
Who did you call in as collaborators and how did they help establish J Brand? What kind of influence did they have?
Well, obviously, I think it comes from me as creative director, as the lead. So it started with me. Obviously, then I brought in certain people like Carl Templer and his wife, Anita. And Anita did PR and Carl did styling. Obviously, Carl is just this amazing mammoth person in the industry. And he has an amazing vision to minimalism and sort of making it feel approachable, but also super cool. And that was part of the process. We wanted to make sure that it wasn't just this sort of crunchy granola LA sort of boho look, which LA had sort of been labeled with. What Carl did was he was able to create this, and obviously he brought in people like Craig McDean to shoot the campaigns, and models like Suvi and Sam Rollinson to sort of elevate the brand from being this LA jeans brand to a much more fashion forward point of view. We talked about this effortless woman, a modern woman, and that sort of became the mantra and the DNA that we built the brand around. They were instrumental in changing the perception of our customer and our retailers to sort of switch their belief from LA jeans brand to a global fashion brand.
Fashion brand.
Yeah,
fashion
it was really an amazing time. And working with people like Craig McDean and Suvi were just like highlights of my career.
So do you consider yourself a denim head?
No, not anymore.
But you're like a denim expert. Why not anymore?
Because I don't have the same, I'm not in it like I used to be. So, part of the denim process is fabric. It's all about fabric. And I'm not in those meetings anymore. I don't go to denim mills anymore as much as I used to. I do go, if I need a denim, then I will definitely go and see the mills. But when you're in it and that's all you're doing, it's a very, very technical process. It's not just about a creativity. There's also a lot of technical knowledge around fabric and dyes and wash techniques, and all the things you want to achieve are all part and parcel of the fabric. So if you want a dark indigo, but you want abrasion, you need to make sure that you can get the abrasion without damaging fabric. So it's a very technical thing. And obviously you're partnering with the denim mills to sort of build those ideas and the wash techniques. And it's sort of a collaboration between the mills. Mills also are looking for trend. So fabric mills do develop fabrics themselves on trend. So you buy into their trend, they buy into yours, and that's how you develop the denim.
Because a lot of denim at that time had stretch in it. When the skinny jean trend became a thing, we would gone from, I don't know, what do you call non-stretch denim? To stretch denim, rigid denim, to stretch. I mean, for me, at least back when I was in high school, it was like Seven for All Mankind, Citizens of Humanity, Rock and Republic. I never wore Joe's jeans, but Joe's jeans.
Yes.
And then a little bit later came J brand. And so was that something that the mills were unfamiliar with, how to put that stretch and that elasticity in there? Or was that something y'all worked together in?
No, I think, again, like anything, it comes in trend waves. I was using stretch denim at Johnny Q, which is a company that I used to work with years and years and years ago in the UK. There was always stretch denim around. I just think that trend-wise, it had been really important that sort of that rigid fabric was all authentic to the vintage that you were trying to replicate. So I think it was part and parcel of just a trend, this idea of looking to the new. Designers look to the new always. And I think people had been on this rigid trend for so long with salvage denim and sort of this idea of what the perfect vintage replicated jean was. And then all of a sudden, I think the shift was, we've got to get skinnier. The silhouette has to get skinnier. So to get skinnier and make it wearable, you have to go back to the stretches. So a lot of the mills developed a lot of technical aspects around stretch, around the way it stretched, the way it contoured your body, the way it came back after wash. There was a lot of technicalities in creating those fabrics and the stretch. And I think, I think with Jeff Rudis at the lead, it was an incredible way to work in that he wanted to explore these things, wanted to try new things, and no idea was a bad idea, which I've really sort of taken to heart. And it's been a mantra of mine for a very long time.
Do you wear denim?
I don't.
Really? Did you used to?
I did all the time. It's just I've kind of got into this idea of a uniform, and denim is not part of that uniform, and it's hard to break. So
did you, when you did wear denim, did you prefer rigid or anything with stretch?
Oh, I would not wear stretch. I would only wear vintage too. So I was a denim snob in that respect.
I love it. I love vintage denim still. If I can.
Me too. I love to look at it. I just don't wear it.